It is Tuesday. It is training day. So let's see who we've got on the call today. I think we've probably got a bunch of stragglers, people sleeping, and well, all of those good kind of things. So no, well, we're 8:33, so let's get right into it. And today, what I want to do is continue on a little bit from our conversation about life insurance. We spoke about basic life 101 conversation last week. I think that was a really good call. Those of you that joined us for the HII training, I think that was a phenomenal call. I was super pleased with that. Normally, when we have some good training sessions, they're not always up to par, but I thought that there was a lot of really good knowledge there, a lot of things that were shared that we really need to be aware of. It's going to really help enhance the sales process within HIC, knowing the subtleties of the product, and making sure that you're comfortable with it. Now, inside the drive in the meetings folder, we have I put in both trainings for the HII. The life insurance training has been uploaded as well. And then today, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about CRM, real briefly, a couple of enhancements that we did there as requests from you guys. And I think it's going to solve a lot of the problems that we have in talking about wrapping up and rounding out our book. And I also want to share with you guys, a little bit of the language documentation so we can talk about it as a group from an aspect of rebuttals and from what you should be saying and how we're going to really engage some people in some life insurance. So as I said, those of you that were attending the life insurance meetings, those of you that want to get more into life, we've got a very unique product that I've been limited to 10 folks. They're starting on that this week. So we're going to do a secondary training today, and then we will be off to the races marketing our book of business to start with. Some of you have asked about life leads and other things like that, and quite frankly, we're starting with our book. And then based upon their success, we'll expand that. We may change team members because it's all about us getting this thing going. So I've informed all of them that it's really an opportunity for them to shine and really set it off. But those of them that are not going to deliver, then we'll have other spots for you guys that may want to get involved. It's all based upon what we're selling, how much you're cross-selling. We're looking at the production piece of things. And some of you are really doing a great job and working hard and making sales and doing good. And now I think this just becomes another opportunity for us that really manage our book. So with that being said, I'm going to have, I guess what I'll do is I will save the enhancements to the CRM to the end of the call so that when anyone who's not on a supported contract or is not using the CRM, you guys can drop off because it's not going to be pertinent to you. But for what I want to start with is I really want to start with going through a little bit of this Life 101 document. And with this Life 101 document that we talked about, it's for all intents and purposes the presentation as well as rebuttal notes. Just to quickly highlight this document in the Google Drive under the life insurance folder, it's called Life 101. It basically gives you a couple of guidelines quickly, just, what are you doing, a little measurement and self-assessment for your day, so that way you can count how many people you're calling. I'm going to, in Twilio, those of you that are in that, I'm going to show you how you can see some of that stuff as well with those enhancements that we did. But for those of us that are just calling and wondering about our activity and wondering about how things were doing, a little self-assessment tool. Those of you that are new to life insurance, a whole bunch of terms on life insurance, all the definitions, a lot of the stuff that you need to do, what you need to understand, different riders, and then, of course, a glossary. And all of that is covered in the 101 video with a lot more detail, especially when we talk about defining the need. How do you define that need? Continue on with this needs insurance calculator that you can do. There's an online version of this that you can access. In addition to the online version that you can access, you've got it here that you can look at. So now, we spoke about quoting. We talked about product guidelines that are in Carrie Levinson. So really now it's a matter of the words, the language, how are we getting into this? I actually had a pretty good conversation with one of you yesterday, and date with David, who's got a real good history with life insurance, and we're talking about he made about 40 or 50 calls and just kind of assessed what he was feeling, and I really think that we're going to all get the same kind of thing. And as we get into this, probably the biggest thing that I want you to be mindful of, and I reminded David of this, and we all learn something from each other all the time, is being mindful of your client base. Okay, those of you that have a history of life insurance, I'm going to speak to you first. You may be accustomed to 150, 200,000, 30-year term, a UL forever, all this other beautiful, nice life insurance that people want, people need to have, people need to understand. And then you have a large share of our client base. When we think about them, we're, scraping together 12, average Joe America, believe it or not. It's a little crazy, right? $12,000 to $15,000 a year, not a lot of assets, not a lot of things going on. So you just want to be a little mindful of that when you're talking to your members. Now, obviously, if you're talking to someone who's off marketplace and paying $3,000 a month for the health insurance, well, then that's a different conversation than 1443C, who you keep on calling every month because their $13 a month premium is late yet again. So as we do an opening, when we're calling our current client base, we really want to make sure, and you could do this in a fashion that fits for you best, but it's really a check-in. And those of you that are being successful, we have, agents that we have orphan clients. We have agents that are no longer with us, have passed on, and, are gone, died. We have other agents that are, owned by the agency itself, and we may be asking you, those of you that are successful, to help with some of that stuff. But that being said, we have, who are you calling? I'm your Florida Blue agent. Remember me? Hey, how you doing? You've got to make sure that you try and engage, because most of these people have no freaking idea who you are. I mean, I know that the ones that are late pays you're calling. But Joe, who doesn't have any late pays on his policy, hey, this is Jeff Schilling. I'm your Florida Blue agent. I wanted to give you a call and kind of check in and see what's going on. Now, what we want to do here is we want to just basically let them know, during open enrollment, we're all really busy. I'm talking to 50, 60 people a day. Well, right now, it's June. Not so busy. Kids are out of school. You might catch mom on the phone. She's never talked to you before. You may talk to, someone else, grandma, grandpa. They're not aware that you're the insurance guy. I took care of their health insurance. You're going to have to do a little finagling right in here, because they're probably going to have no frickin' idea who you are. Okay? Oh, this is Carlos Prats. Who? I helped you with your health insurance. I have Blue Cross. No, I'm your agent. We went through that renewal process. We went through all of that stuff. So you may have to build a little rapport here. Be ready to dance a little bit. Be ready to make sure that you're kind of engaging them. Yeah, you got this policy. If you took good notes, then maybe you remember that their dog's name is Fluffy and their kid likes Pop Warner football and has broken 3 legs, but you still didn't sell them an accident plan. Hopefully you'll have something to talk about. Now we want to start building a little more trust. Remember, your entire conversation during open enrollment, or in most of the time, it's a quick wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's like speed dating, right? Well, now we're not speed dating. Now we're really getting to know each other. So ask them, and don't be afraid to ask. And I know most of you are like, there's no way in hell I'm asking them about their Florida Blue plan. I don't want to know. I don't want to go down that. I don't want to deal with that. I might as well making a customer service call. Well, you're making these calls anyway, right? I said to everybody a list. You had 20, 30, 40 people. You knew how their plan was going. How? Well, they weren't paying for it. Well, these people, maybe you could just call and say, hey, how's everything going? Let them vent a little bit. Talk about it. Talk about what's going on. Yeah, I'm sure you saw the stuff in the news. Did how is everything going? Do you have any questions? Really just a way for what are you doing in this section? Anybody have a good idea? Does anybody want to play with me this morning? What are we trying to do here a little bit? No one? Bueller. We want to get them talking. We want to get them a little comfortable. We want them to start building some trust. Very good. Some credibility. You can look up their plan. You can look up a temp ID card. And don't be afraid. If you find something that's at fault or something that looks funky, no big deal. Better to find it now than to find it when you get a chargeback or when they're calling you. This is what this part is all about. So this part's a little sucky, right? But what you're going to try and do is this is where you're getting your openings to go into, okay? This is your engagement. Bruce is saying, I'm trying to find an opening for opportunities. This is where you're going with it. That's exactly why we're having this call today. So listen, Bruce, here we are. You got to know what's going to happen this year. This year, for me, an insurance agent, it's going to suck, right? Point blank, the government has changed this enrollment window. So you thought I was busy last year. Well, guess what? This year, it's going to be even harder, okay? You know, David's making a really good point when he talks about the plan. How is everything, dude? A really good question to ask, and I'm actually going to add that right in here because that is good. Hey, have you gotten your checkup and or free wellness exam? Be prepared because they say, oh, yeah, maybe it wasn't free, and then you have to understand why it wasn't free. But that type of opening and then getting them into, in my eyes, what's going to happen this year is where you have your buildup. This is where you're going to get your foot in the door because they're not going to want to talk to you, really, right? So it's not like, oh, you're already my client. Let me sell you an accident plan. Why do you need an accident plan? Well, you're not going to just go straight into it. Hey, how's everything going? What's up? Hey, I'm sure you've been watching the news. Lots of changes coming up this year. I want to make sure that you and I are on the same page because I am your agent. I'm the one that's going to help you out. A&B is going to take care of you this year. We're going to make sure that we make this a smooth process. Now, I just want to pause for a minute. So we've got, and we've spoke about in the past, different tools that we use, scheduling tools. Florida Blue is looking, and I have a meeting today after this call about some new processes for re-enrollment. CMS, just so you guys know, and this is not for your conversation, so I'm pausing the pitch here. Here's a little education. Put your education hat on for a second. They're changing the redirect, okay? What the renewal process is going to look like this year should be significantly different and much less hands-on than last year. And what I mean by that is some of the things that we're shooting for is an email that goes to your client with their basic information. They don't have to go out to the marketplace. We don't have to reassess that for your current client base. So these are some things that we're pushing for, okay? We're pushing for all of this to happen on the back side of things, okay? That being said, that's for your brain. For your customers, I want you to know that I'm going to engage with you. I want you to know that I'm going to communicate with you. We want to send you email communications, and I want to confirm your email address on file, which is the one you're going to use because the shit I'm going to send you, excuse my expression, is going to be important. I'm not going to send you some handy-dandy recipe for you to make some chicken pot pie. I am going to tell you when your policy needs to renew and the things that you need to know. Those of you that are in CRM, you're working your customers, you need to make sure that's updated and accurate. Okay? Is there a secondary number that you want me to get? This is going to be important. Why? Because there's a lot of political stuff going on, and you need to keep your plan. You need to make sure that it's in place. You need to know that Florida Blue is still going to be here. We're going to have your policies are going to be very stable, but if we need to make any changes, we'll do it together, and we're going to make that a smooth process. Doesn't matter who you voted for. None of that. Nobody cares about. It's not fine. Let's not talk about London and France and anybody's underpants, but let's just move through now. We've got this fantastic, hey, as I said in the beginning, life was busy during open enrollment. And as both you and I know, I do a lot of different insurances, and one of the ones that everybody forgets about the most or is overlooked or people are underinsured. That's the big one. And let's just make sure that we know that. Underinsured. If I could spell, I think I got it right. Because of that, I do life insurance. We're all going to die, okay? So let me just ask you, I see I've got your notes here. In your lead, when you're in the lead updating your family information email address, make sure you've got the household size listed in there inside CRM in your notes. Do you have a family? Yes. Well, it's a really good idea for you to remember that. And now you understand you've got that. You should know it from the beginning of a conversation if it was a raw lead. You should know this if it's your customer because you have some of that. Now, again, we want to start building more trust. Hey, what was your son's name again? The difference with a life insurance pitch is it's much more personal than health, right? Auto insurance, I can go buy from any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Life insurance, I can go buy from any Tom, Dick, or Harry. But you buy it from somebody who is paying attention. And let's face it, we all have time, right? Unless someone on the phone starts writing 25 policies a day again, we've all got time, okay? So now we want to start making sure, if we haven't already, now I am using this section of the life insurance presentation can be used based on anyone. So this can morph. The beginning, you needed an introduction. You need some way to get involved from your current customer and get a transition to life. There are other ways to do it, yes, but this is going to be the way that you're building when you're calling to your customers. They may tell you, hey, I canceled months ago. Oh, my God, what happened? I got a job. Fantastic. Good for you. Now you can still transition to life. I got a job, right? Okay, they're not interested in talking to you. Your Blue Cross sucks. I hate you people. I bought, Humana. Fantastic. Did you also know that I do take care of life insurance? I'm sorry you had such a bad example and experience with Florida Blue, but blah, 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 blah. And by the way, Humana's pulling out of the market, and you're going to be back to us anyway, probably. So, I got group insurance. Did you take the group life? Oh, yeah, they offered it to me. Okay, great. Did you understand that group life is not portable? So you've got to pick up these little tones. You got to pick up the little subtleties when you're in these conversations. What happened to them? Why did they not have Blue Cross? Why are they unhappy with Blue Cross? Is it a billing issue? Do they have a member account? This is where you become a good agent. And then, again, building trust, building rapport, establishing additional credibility that you're just some bum that's calling them again that doesn't even remember their name. You can transition into life insurance, as most people are underinsured for life insurance, and it's overlooked. It's put to the back burner. Continue to find that common ground and then just simply ask them a question of, hey, if you're a family, maybe you didn't identify that, you know now. Do you currently have any life insurance to protect your family? It's a very basic, simple yes or no question, both of which give you an opportunity to transition into additional conversation pieces. So a yes or a no, neither of them are bad. Does anybody disagree? Yeah, I've got life insurance. Fantastic. No, I don't. Okay. So, perfect. You don't have health. You don't have life insurance. I'm sure you're well aware that you are going to die at some point in time, as we all are, unless you know of something, a miracle that no one else is. You're hiding from everyone. So that's something that we can take care of. And let's talk a little bit about it. Again, friendly, engaging, inviting. Not salesy, standoffish. Of okay, great. Let me get you a quote. They didn't even say they wanted a quote. No rapport. You can't rush it. This is like dating. You can't rush it. You got to take your time a little bit here. Massage, right? So there's only a few things that people are going to tell you as far as rejections, right? So it's a little difficult to see it on here, but all of my little bubbles and arrows and all the other stuff that I usually do when I try and put some presentations together for you guys, some to get lost or they're harder to follow. So I'm trying to find some different ways, to make sure you guys got all the pertinent information that it falls through. Remember, this is not a memorization thing. This is a guide path. This is something that you should be following, so that way you can make sure that you're actually talking about it. So when we are looking at, and that's actually a good response there, and we'll talk a little bit about that, Scott Webb. I'm glad that you're awake now. There are a few different areas that people are going to tell you when they're saying no. Okay? Welcome. Good morning. How are we doing out there? So what's the deal, right? So I don't have a need. I don't need life insurance. Jeff sent me a couple of questions the other day. I think I cover them in here, have them covered already, but let's talk a little bit about it. A lot of people doesn't feel, unfortunately, it's going to happen. Nobody wants to die. What is the real underlying reason for no need? It could be because they don't love anyone. That's no problem either. I understand that. I have the hard time with that myself. I'm kind of a prick, right? So, I have a cat maybe. I don't know. I don't have anyone that I care about in my life. It's not something I'm worried about. Listen, I get it. So if you did get really sick and something happened to you, if you don't love anybody, let me ask you two questions. Who's going to take care of you? And if you don't really care about that, how about I just give you a big fat pile of cash if you get diagnosed with a major sickness or illness and you go have a blast? Go to Tahiti, buy the Trans Am that you always wanted, or the Harley, and don't wear a helmet, because what's the difference at that point? So when you're looking at that no need, really you have to understand that you haven't either built trust or you're not automatically identifying that goes to other product lines and perspectives. Anybody agree? Anybody disagree? Does everybody get that? Well, we all feel that we don't need life insurance because no one thinks they're really going to die. Sorry to bring this up to you. Unfortunately, don't want to be the first person to tell you it's going to happen. Even worse is if you get sick and then you die. Maybe we should just take care of the part as if you get sick first. You've got health insurance. Maybe you don't have health insurance. But we've got these policies they're kind of like life insurance policies that you don't have to die. Those are critical illness policies. Now, with most life insurance policies, they are going to include an accelerated death benefit. Can anybody tell me the difference between a policy that has an accelerated death benefit and a critical illness policy? You guys are going to make me start drinking early again in the morning? Would anybody like to venture the guess of the difference? Is my mic on? What is the difference between a critical illness policy and an accelerated death benefit? Oh my God. Oh my God. We are not awake. Andrew Callen, thank you very much. Critical illness, you don't have to be terminally ill. If I get diagnosed with cancer and I don't necessarily have to be like on my deathbed. When you are an accelerated death benefit, listen up everyone. How we don't know this is a little bit shocking. You have to be diagnosed with terminal illness. That means hospice is coming in. Okay? That means the end is near. And now the end is near, right? So it's pretty much over. But if you have a critical illness policy, it's not over. You're probably going to live, right? That means most people get diagnosed with cancer. You have a heart attack. I have a stroke. I may lose some limitations of things I could do. My lifestyle is going to change, but I'm not dead. Not yet. That's probably still coming down the road. Accelerated death benefit. If you're going to sell life insurance, if life insurance is going to come out of your mouth, you need to understand the difference of that. Very, very, very important. So if you are like Scott Webb, who every one of his customers has a critical illness policy, he can now tell them, hey, when you get diagnosed with your cancer, we're going to pay you a lump sum of money. And hey, God forbid that critical illness becomes terminal, we can access up to whatever portion of the policy, each policy is different, of that death benefit. So that way you get double dip and you're still not dead yet. You got time to play. Go to Tahiti, trip to Costa Rica, whatever it is you want to do. Colombia with Alejandro, whatever. That's your money, and it is not taxable income either, because it's not income. I need to talk to my wife or my spouse. So I love this one. There's a couple of really good responses here as you guys read through it. Probably the one that I like most is, listen, I get it. You want to talk with your wife. You want to talk with your husband. You want to think about it, right? I understand. Well, the insurance company needs to think about it too. Let's get the application together. Let's get it over to the underwriting department. It's going to take them a few days to approve or not approve. They may come back with a different rate. Let's see what they say. We both understand that we need life insurance, and this is also a close. Okay, so not only is it a rejection or a rebuttal in the beginning of the conversation, I don't want to look at it unless my wife is with me. With that, we can look at pricing. We can make sure that we identify the need. That's no problem. Probably one that I got from Ryan last week. Got to tweak it a little bit. I love it. Absolutely. I'd ask you a question. Do you think it'd be nice if your wife would be happy if you brought her home flowers? Of course she'd be happy. She'd be ecstatic. Well, unless she hates flowers. And you have an answer for both right now. So if you brought your wife home flowers, would she be happy? Of course. Well, think about it this way. Those flowers are going to die, and so are you. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And even better yet, if she says that she doesn't like flowers because they die, well, now she's walked herself right into understanding mortality. And we definitely, if you don't like flowers that die, you've got a husband that's going to die as well. Let's at least look for some pricing. We should be talking about this. You're trying to take a very difficult and challenging subject and lighten it up a little bit and engage the person at the same time. You want to get a little bit of, kind of get them engaged. That's what we're doing. Also, one of the other big things, and David is adding to this as well, great point. If you're talking to the husband and the husband says he doesn't think he needs it, well, even better yet, call back when the wife is there. Schedule a call. You know what? This is a family decision. Fantastic point, David. Everybody, listen to that. So you're getting pushback about talking about the life insurance. And, well, listen, why don't me, you, and your wife all talk about it? Because at that point, when you start talking about what happens if, your income is gone, which we're going to get to, what happens when you're not around, that conversation is a lot easier when you have both people in the room, because he has to be looking at his wife as he's saying that it's not important if he's not around, and her and the kids have nobody to take care of them. And then mommy has to run out and get a new boyfriend to pay the bills. Wonderful. And don't think that doesn't happen. It's too expensive. Now, you know what? I don't need any life insurance. It's too expensive. I hear that all the time. It's usually much more affordable than you think. Where did you come up with that? Ask the question why. Did you price it out? Or you just think that it's going to be too much? Typically, we can start somewhere, and that means that we can find a solution that's going to fit into most budgets, lots of variables we can play with to make sure that we get it within a cost. We don't have to do it all today. Hey, you know what, David? We may find out that you need $5 million worth of coverage. You can't afford that today. I know that. You know that. Let's start somewhere. Let's at least talk about it. Let's get the 8,000-pound gorilla out of the corner that you are going to die, and let's talk a little bit about it. I never looked at it. I never thought about it. It's really not that important to me. Hear that a lot. I like to call it life getting in the way. Honestly, what you have to remember is this. This is very clear, everybody. Those of you that have got a family member, I had a friend on Thursday. His 50-year-old brother dropped dead in his garage. Honest story. Blood clot in his leg as he was getting the mail. No warning signs, no nothing. Okay? You never know when this is going to happen, you know? So honestly, most people don't think about life insurance until it's too late and they need it. And at that point, it's too late. When you realize you're going to die or when you realize that you're sick, it's typically too late for you to get it at an affordable rate. You are never going to be as young as you are today or as healthy. Okay? It's too expensive. 14 pesos for some. I get it through work. That's another big one that I know that we're going to get a lot of. If we get it through work, that's great. Typically, when you understand work coverage and life insurance is typically not portable, meaning that you can't always take it with you. It's typically only once or twice or 3 times, lady, your salary, and that's it. So you don't get a lot of coverage there, okay? So also, some people will push back and say, that in that situation, when we have that, I'll just get it after I leave the job. Well, when you retire, you may be too old. Another very good point is what happens if you get sick. You end up having to leave your job because you're sick, then you die. The life insurance is gone. Again, not portable. Very good. Make sense? Is everybody listening? Is everybody awake? I already have enough. Fantastic. How did you come up with that number? Let's just make sure you've got the right coverage. Some people will use, do you have the old term or the new term? But if you don't understand the Transamerica Trendsetter product, you can't have that conversation. Those of you that want to use that rebuttal as the old term or the new term, what that is a blended product through Transamerica. It's called the Trendsetter. It has some pretty neat features to it. It's not inexpensive in any way, shape, or form, but it does have a long-term care rider to it, critical illness rider, accelerated death benefit, and more. So it's a nice, interesting policy that it's a little bit different. Again, it's a way to engage. I have enough. Fantastic. Had you pick the number? Jeff had told me last night in an email that he has his kids, and his kids are rich, and he's not worried about it. So if your kids are rich and you die or you get sick, you want them to take care of you. There's estate taxes. There's other things that you have to worry about, burial expenses. I mean, that's kind of a cop-out. You're just going to leave that all on your children. Some people have already said, I have assets that are there to take care of it. Do you really want to use those assets for foreclosure of your estate? Is that really what it's used for? Is that why you have assets? Protect your assets. And then if you have enough assets, know that it's going to cost you some money to get them out of wherever they're at. And there's going to be lawyer fees and all this other crap. Why would you burden your family with that? And I'm healthy and I'm not going to die. Newsflash, good luck. Read through these. These are definitely should give you some guidance that you can move with so that you can put your own personality in to kind of move forward on it. So that's really just your beginning of getting into life insurance. Did you get your okay? Here's why I'm calling. You've built some trust and rapport. You've gotten hit between the eyes of why they don't even want to talk about it. I don't have time. No problem. Let's schedule a call in the evening when you and your family is around. This is worth the conversation. I don't need it. Well, did you, again, get them involved. This is going to take a couple of callbacks. If you are a one-call wonder for your leads or for your customers, you're not going to be successful doing this. This is where you become borderline annoying. Hey, let's schedule a call. I can call you in the evening when everybody's around and you've got a cup of coffee in your hand and we can go through it. This is not a 30-second conversation. This is important. So now we need to identify the need. So when we're taking a look, your services are free. You're doing a quote for them. Remind them of this. Remind them that I'm working for you. I'm a full service benefit advisor. Here's where we start to extend our presentation because you have to make sure they understand who you are. I'm going to take care of your health, but I would be doing you a disservice if I wasn't having this conversation with you. So as we look at this, now I showed you earlier on one of the other pages, there's a needs assessment sheet. It's a really quick way for you to take your notes on this. Going in here, you want to basically talk a little bit first and foremost about replacing income. Now, the reason why I talk about replacing income first is because this will encompass all walks of life. If you are talking to, Mario, who owns 3 restaurants in South Beach, his income need replacement is going to be significantly different than John, who is making, $12 an hour working at the local mechanic shop part-time and has barely got ends meeting. But when I tell you that income replacement for John, the mechanic, is way more important to his family if he's gone than Mario with 4 restaurants in South Beach, you have got to understand that. It's the same conversation where they say, I can't afford to have this. You can't, I'm just trying to scrape together to keep ends meeting. I get it. If that's the case, you need it even more than you think. I've had a conversation with several of you who I know have life insurance, and you've said to me before, I'm almost better off. My wife is better off if I'm not here than if I'm here. In more ways than one, I'm sure. However, what you have to remember is that if that gentleman or that female, that single mom, loses her income, who's going to take care of the kids? They're going to go to grandma. Who's going to keep the roof over their head, whether it's a mortgage or a rental? So don't kid yourself. I've heard before, I can't call my customers. They're late on their bills all the time. If they let the Blue Cross payment go and they keep the life insurance, that's fine. Because they may not get sick, but they are going to die. I mean, really, it's an easy way of looking at it, right? Anybody disagree with that? I can go my entire life not getting sick, and I'm a marathon runner. I go for a really long run one day, and next thing you know, I'm dropping dead with a heart attack. So what is the income if you died today? And remember, okay, in CRM, there's a field, household income. If you didn't fill it out before, you may want to fill it out now. These are numbers that are going to be used for open enrollment as well. But household income, what are you guys making? And the number doesn't really matter. In fact, the lower number is probably going to be a little bit easier for you to really compound the sale. So if they say, I think we told you $30,000 a year, hey, how was that split? Was it, some for your wife, some for how is it all split up? And if you were going to die today, not tomorrow, right now, tomorrow, the next day, now, okay, how much income do we need to provide? 60% is yours. We need to take a look at that. Now, these questions down here are all part of the worksheet. And what they would understand is this gives you some talking points to kind of get through that worksheet. And you want to continue to ask these questions. Why? Because it's going to exacerbate the need that the customer understands. Because just because they want to replace their income, that's fine. You want to get your kids to college? Yeah. Are they going to be an NFL player? Are they going to, what kind of school are you going to want to put them through? Do you have a mortgage or debt that's important to you that we need to pay off? Why? This number is going to get larger and larger and larger. And that's okay. There's a process to this because you're going to go through all of that and you try and get as much as you can. And if they listen, I don't really have time for this and they're trying to blow you off, you want to continue to cover. This is what you do. This is the right way to do it. You can do it half-ass, like someone who doesn't even have any life insurance and they have kids on the way or they have kids, period. Or let's take a look at it and do it the right way. This is what I do. And then you're going to do the takeaway close to get somebody really thinking. And that's, again, if you die tomorrow, what's the most important thing that we need to provide to your family? And really, quite honestly, it's probably going to be your income replacement or, paying off the home, making sure they have a roof over their head. Because let me tell you, by my total calculations, you're going to need like $3 million worth of coverage based on doing this math. But for now, let's just worry about one. Let's start there. Okay, I want to pause right there. Does everybody understand what I'm going through here? Is this make sense to everyone? See or no? Does anybody think that there's a problem with going through this? It's too lengthy. I don't see me getting through it. No one's going to talk to me that long. Because I'm going to tell you now, that's going to be challenging. It is going to be challenging to get that rapport, and this is where you have to really become your salesperson, because this is not a real salesy presentation. This is I'm putting my arm around you. Let's get to know each other. So once you've done that, you just want to do a little deeper dive into the health. And it's really important that you kind of go through some basic health assessment questions, and that is going to be the who, what, where, why, and how, and some major conditions. Now, this is sort of like when you make a presentation to someone who you think gets a subsidy, but you never asked if they had an SCP, right? Oh, this is great. I've got a plan for you. Blue Select, it's $3 a month. Fantastic. Oh, you don't have an SCP. No, it's really going to be $300 a month. So plans are affordable, but I want to make sure I'm offering you or making sure we find a fit. What are we going to do? So first of all, we are going to make sure that we are covering the thing that is most important to you. That's our starting point, so it's not a huge, scary number. Have you thought about a budget? Kind of works into that as well. You want to kind of get some of these questions in your conversation pieces. But we want to assess to make sure. Do you have any major conditions? All right. I mean, if you're on a Join Me, you can show them the list. We've got some tools that you can see with the list that I'll share with everyone as well. We get to ask height and weight, and we have to ask height and weight. I usually like to make a joke about it if I'm talking to the ladies. You say, does everybody build, in pretty much normal range? I'm the only man in America that gets to ask the ladies without meeting them how much they weigh and how tall they are. Try and have some fun with it because you want them to open up. They need to understand that they're going to check your drugs. They're going to check an RX check. Is everybody familiar with what an RX check is? We talked about that on our meeting last week. Does anyone have any comments or questions about an MVR, RX check, MIB hits? Also something called LexisNexis some carriers use as well, which are lifestyles. Everybody understands what all of those things are? Does anyone not? Okay. Any minor conditions? Minor conditions aren't kickouts. Minor conditions are just something we need to know for rate class. That goes along with height and weight, and you are going to want to check the build chart for this. There are several build charts as we are exploring different carriers. When we're looking at what they're treated for, how is it diagnosed, this is not a big deal, right? But what you have to understand is if they have asthma and they're a smoker, they're probably not going to issue the policy. If you're overweight, you've got high blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes all go together, probably not going to get a standard or traditional policy. We're going to have to think outside the box, something guaranteed issue, something graded death benefit, depending on the age. When you find these things out, take some notes, ask them how it was treated, when it was treated, how is it controlled. If it got diagnosed yesterday, we may have to wait until it is controlled before they will issue a policy. So overall health is what we're trying to assess here, okay? DUIs, felonies, misdemeanors, problems, major, racing, auto racing on the street, which is illegal, loss of license. They're looking at that because they're looking at lifestyle choices. Felony convictions, typically a no-no. DUIs, typically it's got to be more than 3 years, and then they're okay with some carriers. Some carriers, 5 years. And you're going to want to look at the underwriting guidelines based upon the plan you select, as we showed everyone those product guidelines last week, and we can review them again in our next call. Working, avocations, do you like to fly a plane? Do you like to go drag racing? You're just getting to know somebody, but again, you want to verify what they do for work, because typically armed guards, people who are carrying a weapon, not just for fun, but for work, can have a problem. Remember that they have to have some sort of job. They could be a homemaker, which is a job in itself, if not the most important job. When we have those kind of situations, there just has to be a financial interest. There has to be a responsibility factor there, where I would insure my wife. If my wife should die, there's no one to take care of my children, so there is a vested financial interest in that. Overall financial health is a kind of a good question, because certain carriers will look at collection notices, failures to pay. Are you upside down on all of your bills? Sometimes that could be an issue. If somebody's had multiple bankruptcies, those are kind of things. It just gives us a guideline of how we can select a policy. So as I said, we're really going to stick with the non-med first, and then we'll expand to some more complicated cases. But non-med, IULs that are not going to require paramedical examinations. And the reason why is because we want to make sure that we are in a situation that people understand they're going to issue the policy, because people typically won't do the parameds. I'm just telling you, statistically speaking, if you're talking to someone who is, and again, you have to be mindful of your customer. Life gets in the way. Let's start somewhere. So someone is talking about, I don't know, I'll get to that in a second, but running out of the life insurance. And I agree. I am a huge advocate for that. So let me ask you this question. If we're going to solve something, and if you listen to what I said early in the conversation, probably one of the biggest thing that we're going to do is income replacement. And with income replacement, they're probably not going to be earning traditional income for the rest of their life. So we can solve income replacement for a period certain. How much longer are you going to work? I'm going to probably work till I'm 65, 67. Great. That's what we need. Well, let's start there. So that is a good way, because you are going to get some people that are going to say, I don't want to run out of my life insurance. Life insurance changes as we get older. Our needs change. Hopefully they decrease. Kids move out of the house. Hopefully. House gets paid off. Hopefully, unless you've got 14 mortgages on it. Cars get paid off. Credit cards get paid off. The need should diminish. And if we are going to do an easy solve for our customers on a non-med basis that is going to do the things, let's replace the income. Let's focus there. Now what we need to do is, when we're positioning our product, making sure we're repeating what we've talked about. While we both understood that you need a large amount of insurance, X, fill in the blank, let's start off with protecting blank, because that's what you told me in the beginning, what keeps you up at night and what is most important for you to protect your family with. Let's start there. Repeat the need. Position your product based upon that need. So if you told me your two things were making sure my house was paid off and I had my income, you owe 20 years on your home, you said you owe about $150K. Keep it simple. This is KISS. You make $50,000 a year. You said you wanted to do that for about 2 years. My calculations, that's about $250,000, nice and simple. Does that make sense? Perfect. Let's start there. Some of you asked me questions about those that were 60 plus, 50 plus, they don't have a lot of debt. You don't need to necessarily spend all of that time on that needs assessment because those individuals, our Medicare beneficiaries, may just be looking for some basic final expenses. They should have those life insurance policies set up. And therefore, your focus on final expenses, getting more costly, not taking into account inflation, that we can make sure we at least give you something in the form of coverage to make sure you're not burdening your family with the final expenses. It doesn't have to be super expensive because for me to get you a 20, 30-year term, you're going to have to be an Olympian. We're going to have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops. This might be simpler. I love kids' education, especially when the parents think that their kid's going to end up in the NFL, pro ball, or other sports. Fantastic. I wish you all the luck. However, if that doesn't happen, then let's make sure that you don't have to worry about it. What happens if there's an injury? I went to high school with some kid, and he was going to be like all-star pitcher for the world, whatever, and like first year in college, he threw his arm out. Now he sells insurance in New York. But he was drafted right out of high school. I mean, like getting all of his straight up. So college and then done. Out. Education scholarship, same kind of thing. Not that somebody is going to, lose their brain, but it's nice to know that if something does happen, you've covered that kid's education or your child's education. And then in that scenario, your wife doesn't have to worry about it. Nobody does. Peace of mind, grieving. Remember that people want to grieve. And then income replacement, we've covered that as well. We don't want your family searching for new jobs or even a new spouse to pay the bills. So, I mean, that's really what we've got. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of other, kind of in your face rebuttals that I really think you're not going to be able to transition away from. Opening of the clients, calling your current book of business is really where you're going to start to see that traction. Getting in front of those people, talking to them, you should have a good rapport, so that way you can, you should be able to move right through it. So let's open it up to some questions that came in, and making sure that I think we've covered everything so far that I wanted to. We'll talk more product specific. We talked quoting last time. A surety, again, a good product. Some of you have said it's expensive, but I really don't think it's expensive when you look at age bands, when you look at what you're trying to get. So, I think there is a stigma with life insurance of failure. Clients don't want to go through a long process for them to fail to qualify. During the initial conversations, options of you can get coverage needs to be laid out. Well, they are. I mean, and if they're worried about not getting approved, and you sense that through the conversation, tell them we have non-med products. Our focus is products that I don't have to come and send out a nurse out to you and stab you, and you have a mouth swab and pee in a cup and get violated. We could avoid violation unless you're into that. So, I mean, I would absolutely map that out. But if people said, I've been declined in the past, well, then you better perk up your ears and find out why. It's not as difficult. We can ask some basic questions. We're going to talk through it. We should be able to get you covered. We have plans that will approve pretty much everybody. The rate, we may have to adjust the rate, the term length. We may have to address the amount of insurance. Okay. So with that, I'm going to just quickly move into CRM and a couple of changes that went into that. So those individuals that are not accessing the CRM, and you guys can drop off at this point if you'd like. What we have done is inside the leads, we have started yesterday all of the detailing of the drip campaigns. Okay. So inside the drip campaigns, It's inside the document, Margaret, going back to the life insurance. Inside the drip campaigns, a couple things. So what we've done is we've added these templates for you. So when you click on a person's email address, you can select a template, right? The ones that are down here from the bottom. So some are from Florida Blue. So if the lead is Florida Blue, if you're looking at the original lead source, the original lead source will be listed here. If it's AmeriCare quotes, you can select AmeriCare quotes. Now, what you want to look at them is I would prefer you to use the blank emails, right? Because with the blank emails, it's going to have all of your information down the bottom. And you can, don't adjust this information right here because I have to put the field tags in here. And then you could type an email to that. Okay? So that way you can come in here and then I can just go in and I could type whatever I want as a note. And it has your information on the bottom. Some of you are, I don't know why, changing this information. Don't change anything with the dollar signs, anything on here. Okay, that's your information. You're the assigned user. A couple other things that I need everybody to start doing a better job of is filling out the information as you're on the call. You are all that are on a supported contract using this tool. When you get a call-in, that call-in goes into your system. And you need to update the name and the email address when you get the call-in. That's part of the deal. Okay? We are using, we're driving these calls. They're not inexpensive. Okay? TV, somebody calls in, we don't have their name. As you get that lead comes in, fill in their name. Okay? Put in their email address. We're going to want to communicate with them. This is how we're going to be successful moving forward. Household income, household size, different information in here that we have on this main screen. Notes, comments, what you've got going on can be all posted in here. Now, I am working on two things. One, this will be happy for Jeff, and it's just not done yet, showing all of the Twilio calls located down here so they're right on your screen. But if you want to see how many times you called, you can click on the Twilio calls, and every time you've done your Twilio call, it will show you when you called that lead, right in the lead summary. Okay? Going back to the lead summary. The next most important thing that I need you to do if you're taking leads and you're taking calls is make sure you're using the right lead status. We have built drip emails that are going out based upon the lead status. So if you mark that lead as not interested cost, we are going to send them emails based upon your status. So it is important that you pick the correct status that fits best. We don't want to add a whole bunch of thousands and thousands of statuses that everybody's picking all the same ones, but you guys need to do a better job of this. Where you need to do a better job of it is when that lead originally comes in from the phone. You're not updating it in real time. Next, after you have that lead, then you need to convert the lead, and we're trying to make things a little bit easier as well. So when I convert that lead to a customer, now we've added a couple of things on the top that should help you. We have the top, which needs to be filled out, which is the business segment. Remember, I am trying to eliminate Summit, but if you guys can't get this basic stuff done, I can't eliminate Summit. We're getting there. We've got some really good plans, but we're still testing. What is it? It's under 65. What is the product sold? Here is where the kicker comes. This is the new field. I understand caller ready comes in with no information. That's why you need to fill it out. Because caller ready, when the person calls in from a TV commercial or they call in from online without filling out a form, we don't have their information. So when you say, hi, this is Jeff calling from AmeriCare Quotes or Free Obamacare, who I have the pleasure of speaking with, you type in their name. Great, I'm going to want to send you some information. Type in their email address. What we've added is products sold here, and I have done this very generically, and we will continue to add it, but I want generic for now. It gives you the opportunity to put in all of the different products that you sold that one client in one spot. Now, granted, there's a lot of stuff missing, but I'm trying to get our packaging and control some of our packaging that we're doing. The 2017 status now is complete. It's new business. And that will be in there. Now, I have a cross-sell. Why it's not showing, I'm going to have to remove it. Cross-selling status, which I will have on the main screen. I'll move that up for you. Was the last thing that I added. So by the time we get off this call, I will move it to the summary screen. Those of you that are cross-selling, that are working your current business, can all now start to use this cross-selling status field. I will move that to the main screen. So when you close a sale, what do? I convert it to a customer. I get the business segment. I add the products that I sold. I'm not making it too crazy, nice and simple, so we know what we're selling. I know that it's new business. And I know that if we're calling back, we need to make sure that the cross-selling opportunity is used, and we can add a filter for that on the main screen for who you've been working with that as well. The customer status needs to be active if they're active, inactive when they cancel, deceased when they are deceased. Once it's active and I go back to my customer summary, and if I'm looking at Rob in my list, Rob will now be in green. It'll have a green highlight for you. If you are getting a caller ready call and there is no one on the other end, you need to send an email to Rob Anderson and to Eddie with the phone number of the call-in so we could address it. Okay, so also some of you were wondering, but in your Twilio calls, you will have a Twilio call section that will show the number of calls that you've done. You can build some filters here. So if you wanted to see when you called certain leads, but that information will also be in here. You can go right to the lead from your calls. So if you called someone, they didn't answer, you could always get right back to them as well. And all of the Twilio calls are tagged in there and the status of what they had done. So there are enhancements that we're doing. We are building some status changes based upon these different areas as well. But when you're in your customers, they should all be active. So every customer should be green, and you should start to be able to add those other products. Now, what we will do is have some filters in here for cross-reference, for cross-selling, to where you can see what products that person has, but you're going to have to start adding some of that information as well, so that way you've got it in there. So we're trying to make this simpler. So this is a way to make it simpler. Any questions? Can we handle that? Can we handle updating a lead as soon as it comes into the system? Some of you like to put your notes on a little notepad or whatever it is, but I need those basics. You've gotten call-ins yesterday. I was looking at it this morning, and there's call-ins that came in that you didn't update. And you can't leave your day without calling all of your leads. I mean, it's like if you ask for the leads and you only got 10 or you got call-ins in there, there should be no lead in your system green at the end of the day. And last but not least, you've got to keep on calling and working these leads because the contact ratio that you're getting on some of these leads is low, and that means that we need to contact them more, and that's what we're trying to do with emails and trying to get a hold of them. How do you drag info out of a customer service lead? They want to pay or need a card or have a billing issue. You really can't. I mean, if you're upselling them, that's fine. But if they have a customer service issue, I was calling into Blue Cross. I'm sorry, Mr. Jeff, you've actually reached the sales and enrollment department. Or do you have one of our policies with a deductible? Well, yeah, but I just want to pay my bill. Well, if I could eliminate your deductible in the event of an accident or a critical illness, that's what all of my customers take. We can get that all set up for you and see what you got going on maybe with your billing. But I am the sales department. I might be able to help. We can look. No, I just want to pay my bill. Okay, call 1-800-FLA-BLUE. They'll take care of your billing. Have a nice day. How many calls should I be making a day? You should be making more than 150. I mean, if you're actually doing it and you think about how many calls you're making, it also depends on your connection times. But if you're not making 100 calls a day, you're not giving yourself a fighting chance. Make sure every health plan has an accident plan and dental. That should be done at time of sale. There's no reason that every sale that you're not making now, you're not asking for dental and accident with every single one of them. Absolutely. What critical illness product are we selling now? NHIC has a cancer, heart attack, stroke, and a critical illness policy. If you're calling back leads on your cell phones, how does it show we called? It doesn't. You shouldn't be calling leads from your cell phone, Roxanne. If you're using the CRM, you should use the CRM. It tracks your calls. It's very consistent with that as well, and it's working pretty damn seamlessly right now. And then you have the tracking. But if you're calling from your cell phone, then that's what you're doing. But it's not going to track it on there. Okay. Any other questions? CRM related? Life insurance presentation related? Perfect. Okay. Everybody have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Have a great day. Get it going.